Okay. All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Coin Republic podcast. My name is Shorav Acharya. From augmented reality to artificial intelligence to the metaverse, these are more than buzzwords. These are now making an impact in industrial revolution, the biggest technological revolution of all time. I mean, look at what's happening with ChatGPT. New jobs being created. A lot of people are now nervous if their job's going to do, but this is technical renaissance. And to talk about these topics in hand, whether, artificial intelligence and augmented reality does have an impact from the manufacturing stage to the distribution stage, we're going to have a perfect guest to answer these concepts. He is the Chief Marketing Officer of Kit AR, an IT solution company for manufacturing businesses. He also is the co-author of the book Metaverse: See Beyond the Hype. It's kind of like Snow Cash. So it is my honor to introduce you guys to the screen with the one and only Mr. Luis Bravo Martins. Welcome to the screen, sir.
Thank you very much
for this. All the way
from
Portugal.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you very much for this huge introduction. I'm already pumped up.
I'm one of the greatest hype mans out there. I'm less of a journalist, more of a hype man. So you're at the moment in Portugal. Tell me a little bit about this crypto scene in Portugal. People know about, Zurich. People know about Dubai, but is there more to Portugal than Cristiano Ronaldo?
Oof. And Cristiano Ronaldo is out there also announcing Binance, right? So you have a lot of you have a hardcore Web3 scene here. Everyone that comes here will very easily notice it. It's not just about the talent. It's not just about the startups. It's about the ecosystem. It's about the meetings, the meetups. It's about the projects, and mainly about everything that is being done worldwide from Portugal, and how offices in Portugal are connecting with several other offices in other continents, and pushing forward very different projects from global teams. So yes, clearly there is a thriving community here in Web3. We are starting also to see several acceleration programs happening here at Web3, for instance, with Antler leading the scene. So clearly, I invite you all to just pop up and look for yourself. And if you do, please drop a message.
Absolutely. Whenever I haven't got the chance to read your book, I apologize. But I've heard about it. It's a fantastic book, I've heard. Metaverse: See Beyond the Hype. When I see the title and when I saw the poster, it's kind of reminded me, the cover kind of reminded me of Snow Cash by Neal Stephenson. I remember when the first time I heard about that book, it gave me chills because he predicted it, right? And then, of course, movies based on it, Ready Player One and all that. What was the thought process writing this book? Why did you write a book? What's the main point behind it? Why should people, read your book, basically?
Yeah, so we all got starstruck by the word metaverse, I think, last year and a half. So suddenly we were all awash with the hype wave and how everything was metaverse, and we weren't really, people weren't really sure about what we were talking about. At the same time, the vision of what the next iteration of the internet is, which will be the metaverse, was again not being handled the best way possible, and people were starting to see it as yet another hype, which meant that they weren't able to, not even open to understand or to explore it. So our main goal with the book, mine and Sam's, Samantha G. Wolf, she's my co-author, so was essentially to strip down the hype and to focus on what we are actually talking about when we talk about the metaverse, when we talk about this vision of what the third iteration of the internet will be, and how it can come into place, but more than that, what that will mean for us as consumers, as professionals, as business owners, as citizens, as parents, as human beings. So clearly, there are a lot of changes that are happening right now. We are at this point dealing with those changes with the tools that we have, which most of the times are like the media and friends that try and explain us what we are seeing. Like, for instance, only this year we saw like 2 hype waves already, right? With generative AI, and now with the Focus glasses from Apple, and we'll have more. But the topic is that hype waves are coming more and more and more at us. So we need to have tools to sort these waves out and to know exactly how to enable ourselves with these tools and with all the possibilities that are open with these new technologies. Now, that was at the end the whole purpose of the book, to create pathways for people to go through, to doors for people to open and to explore what the metaverse is and mainly what it can be.
Now, you've had a successful career in marketing and entrepreneurship following the trajectory of your path. One can gradually, brand towards virtual reality and extended reality. It involved getting into general tech and systems development, right? So with you jumped into VR niche later. I think there might be some interesting insight that you can share with us following your journey founding Last Minute Pros. If you could explain a little bit about that. And you also led executive positions at TUI, and then finally IT People Innovation, which was your first major tryst with AR. So an impressive resume. If you could tell us a little bit about the journey so far.
I started working in the intersection of marketing technology, and I think I never stopped. And I come from a world where phones were meant to make calls. So I come from that world that happened like a century ago. From the last century, I started working. Actually, this is true. I started working in the past century, right? So, and I was fortunate enough to see the first .com bubble come into effect. So, of course, now what we're seeing with Web3, what we're seeing with what's happening right now, also with the metaverse, is something that I find some parallel with several things that I've seen in the past. Like, for instance, when we talk about for instance, the funding bubbles and the hype trains that we just approached, clearly they also existed around that time. And of course, those hype trains also generated a lot of funding bubbles that, of course, also generated a lot of companies going belly up. But at the same time, those were the opportunities or the periods of opportunity that allowed also for companies like Amazon, for instance, to come into existence, for Google also to come into existence. So that's also very, very important. For instance, another thing that I usually tend to refer, it's like when people start telling me about regarding Web3, for instance, it has a lot to do with, you have so much fraud there, so many scams, and you have also so many illegal things happening. And I usually, I recall those days where my mother came to me and she said, "Whoa, you're working in the internet, those places that you have Napster, you have Emu, so much piracy, it's crazy, and so people doing illegal stuff, and you have the dark web and all of that." Yeah. And you did, but the issue is, it's not just that.
So now it
And
feels
again,
like deja vu. Feels like
yeah,
deja.
yeah,
Yeah.
because again, the the behavior that you're seeing from people, it's at the end of the day very very similar because people are reacting to something new the way they know, and the way they know is to polarize their reaction, especially now when with everything that we're seeing with of course social media, but not just social media, everything that we're seeing in
Mhm.
our social dynamics.
Sphere. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, polarizing right now is, let's say, the standard way to approach stuff. So, of course, those kind of things clearly appear. And for instance, talking or trying to find the legal solutions, the regulatory solutions to solve these problems is not something that is going to like be found while polarizing
Mhm.
this. So clearly, that is something that I see. And yet another one, user roles. Like I remember when we talked, when Web 2.0 came in, I was at that point at Two. Two was a company that I created to support marketing agencies. And
Mhm.
at that time, we moved from the read and write web 1.0 to the social web 2.0, where people could
Mm.
actually create stuff.
Mm.
And then the user roles changed, right? So users were not just guys that were there to read, they could actually like post stuff about
Right.
companies that had an impact on companies, not
And
just
at
by
that time, it
reviewing.
was huge. At that time, it seemed quite revolutionary.
Exactly. Now, talking about like now users can be owners. Now
Mm.
users can be collectors. Now users can be investors. Now users have so many new roles, and people are like saying, okay, so this is something that might make sense. Let's try and explore. But other people are just saying, okay, well, yeah, well, that does not yet have a scale, and we saw that before because you have so many brands. You had so many brands that didn't like approach this the correct way, and
Mhm.
I'm right now thinking out of the top of my head like two of those brands don't exist anymore. I wouldn't say
Mm.
that it's due to that, but it's due to the mindset for sure. So
Mm.
clearly, I think that yeah, throughout the time I had that opportunity through those experiences that you referred. From 2014, 2015 on, I started interacting with much more with immersive technologies.
Mhm.
And clearly, at that time, I realized that it's not about the technology. It's more about the behavior and the impact of technology in our behavior, in the way that we interact with the world, and the way that we interact with each other, then the way that we perceive everything around us.
Mhm.
That will fundamentally change. And the issue is that some of these behaviors that are changing and some of these changes are very visible. Others are also very visible, but are very unconscious and unwarranted. So at this point, making these changes and making the impact of technology more visible for me, it's part of what I try to do also through the book and also through the events, because I do believe that that's a way for us to safeguard a bit of the freedom of thought that we still need to have in the future.
Mhm. So the concept of metaverse has been around for a long time, right? I mean, again, we talked about Snow Cash, but it can be said that it became a buzzword ever since Facebook rebranded itself as Meta. And it's interesting that we say that it's like just yesterday Facebook released, I mean, Zuckerberg released Threads. It's a Web 2 company. We were talking about Twitter being, enabling NFTs and, Web 3 communities over there. So in a bid to project itself as a leading way for the development of metaverse, Facebook rebranded itself as Meta. It would be interesting if you could share some opinions about Meta's development surrounding the metaverse, because they have failed again and again. And do you think that Facebook has somehow contributed for a greater public attention towards metaverse because it hasn't gone mainstream yet, I feel.
No. So yeah, several comments on that. So the first one is fully agree. I think that the metaverse as a topic, and this can be confirmed in the search engine trends, it was from October 30th, I think it was October 30th, 2021 on that the metaverse topic started to be searched after Meta's announcement that it was going to rebrand itself into Meta, and that it was going to do like a long-term bet on building up the metaverse. Clearly today, I would say that Meta is the biggest player betting in their own vision of the metaverse, for the better and for the worse. And now I'm going to drill down on this, so I am well understood. So for the better, of course, because there was a huge investment in the area, because there were a lot of new talent being trained, a lot of new talent being hired, new structures, new startups, new concepts and ideas that started to roll out. And they drove like a lot of new investment in this space, but they also inspired a lot of new investment in this space. So all in all, they were instrumental in bringing the topic of the metaverse into people's daily lives, and it was one of the three major words in last year's dictionary. I think it was it's Oxford's dictionary that does like a vote, and metaverse was like the second. I think it was the second word of the year. But again, clearly huge impact. Now, at the same time, I think that Meta also, due to the fact that it's the corporate giant that we all know, they also have their own objectives and their own goals. So of course they try to do and present their version, their concept of the metaverse aligned with what was more easily pushed through commercially. So that's why today, when you ask so many people about what they think that what the metaverse is, most of them will say, oh, it's virtual reality, because that's the vision, or that was the first vision of the metaverse that was passed on by Meta, because that was what they were promoting. So with Oculus, or now MetaQuest, with the services that were connected to these devices, but mostly also with all the data that they were getting and started to get from these devices and from these sensors. So they also have several other services in line. They also have a more thorough, a wider scope of what their metaverse wants to be. They already did several, I think, attempts at doing at least two that I remember, to try and create their own ecosystem for NFTs. Unfortunately, or well, it didn't happen. So I do believe that Meta has, as a company, it's most probably the one that has a more clear notion of what they want to do and how they want to do and to participate in a metaverse. However, the way that they are approaching topics like, again, personal data, privacy, safety, is something that, of course, raises our brows, and rightfully so.
Mm-hmm. Another concern is these giants, right? Google, Microsoft, Apple. They're coming into this industry, and they should. It should be the case in terms of developing. They have the resources, right? They have the resources to develop the industry. But then again, we come back to the fundamental question of centralization versus decentralization, right? So don't you think the industry is gonna lose the layer of decentralization because of these big corporations gaining most of the control market shares of this thing?
Yeah. So I think the decentralized model is always prey to centralized or centralization attempts. And it's really, really hard when, for instance, you have like, and you've seen this in several DAO governance models where you have someone that like hoards tokens in a way that it kind of controls the majority of the votes. And then you can do whatever, but all the majority is done through those guys or through like a number of organizations that then centralize or are owned by someone. So again, it's always really, really hard to create just by themselves models that cannot be like prey to these kind of approaches. So that's why I believe it's so important to create like standardized processes that can safeguard this. And this is, I don't believe that it's solely made or safeguarded by regulation. Regulation is really, really important, mind you, but I do believe that in decentralized systems, it's much more important to create standards that are like abided by the community and with which the people inside the decentralized systems know what they can count on, and then enable them or enables all users also to use these ecosystems with the notion of trust and with all the necessary safety that they need to feel in order to to enable themselves and to leverage what Web3 systems can provide. So what I'm saying is that clearly you have, in my mind, we're going to have not a fully decentralized. I don't believe that we're ever going to have a fully decentralized economy. I don't believe that now it's possible to have a fully centralized economy anymore. Well, it might, but again, it would just be like very temporary. I think that at this time, we're at the stage where we need to find ways for these two governance models to communicate in a positive way, and especially for central banks, for central governance institutions, for official governments to find ways to connect, to interact, again, positively, in a way that they can mold themselves to this new reality, and the other way around, also these new organizations, these new governance models or governed organizations also need to adapt and evolve and keep on evolving and creating, again, these standards in a way that this can be possible. So, for instance, what's happening with the Metaverse Standards Forum is really great. So the fact that there's a place where you have so many standards organizations and also corporates and startups coming together and working towards creating the several layers of metaverse standards. It's truly inspiring, and at the same time, it's like the groundwork for what we're talking about. But clearly, these two worlds already exist and they will coexist.
There are so many nuances for the uninitiated, for the people who are non-technical, who don't come from the IT background, or don't have the experience that you have, right? They see these buzzwords: metaverse, artificial intelligence, digital technologies, blockchain, NFTs. But there are so many nuances in terms of the use cases. Do you think artificial intelligence in itself, it's a big topic. We could have a 1-hour podcast on that. So how do you think metaverse fits in that ecosystem? How does it complement digital ledger technologies? How does it fit in with generative AI? Because you wrote metaverse, that's why I'm asking you that. How do you think metaverse fits in the equation?
You're absolutely right. The amount of technology today is crazy, and it's not going to recede. It's only going to get worse. So we're going to get more and more and more buzzwords and tech buzzwords in our lives, and we will need to try and find ways to work out what they mean and at the same time use them. So again, sometimes it's much easier to not talk about at all technologies and to talk about what they are meant for. Like for instance, when we talk about this, we don't talk about using GSM protocols or using MMS or whatever. We're doing calls, right? We're like sending messages, texting someone. So I usually tend to focus on that. So talking about the metaverse, I see the metaverse as the next stage of the internet. So it's again the internet, but with several specific characteristics that we right now do not have like the necessary technological infrastructure to achieve. Being for me the most defining one, the fact that it's persistent. So we're talking about a persistent layer of digital in our lives, which means that if, for instance, I place a digital screen hanging in the wall here at the office, it will stay there. And people that have the necessary permissions that are allowed to, they will be able to see it. So this allows for a huge array of new business models, but at the same time, a demand for two things to happen, because we need one to be uniquely identified throughout all of the platforms, right? So we need to have identification in place. The second thing, we will need to have an ability to port, in a sense, all our digital out all the metaverses, all the worlds that we are connected to. So, of course, now that we allows some of this to be much more easily in place, right? So I do believe that to approach this because I'm seeing. Are you there?
I'm here. I think your internet has gone down. That's why it's lagging a bit.
Okay.
No worries. We'll edit this part out.
Okay. Sorry. Weird.
It's interesting. Perfect. We're talking about metaverse and the internet.
I'm cable connected.
We're talking about the metaverse and the internet is lagging. Yeah.
The metaverse cloud.
We broke exactly. The internet.
But again.
Yeah.
But getting back, so that's precisely it. So precisely why the blockchain is connected to the metaverse in a way that it can allow for identity, can allow for property to be uniquely identified and associated to users inside a bigger worldwide governance scale that allows us to have digital property and hybrid property being handled the same way that we do with physical property. So that is clearly a good one. Now, on top of that, of course, we also have several other business models that in Metaverse we approach that relate to tokenized realities, to the possibility to tokenize equipments, the possibility to for instance, what's happening right now in several parts of the Mediterranean, and also here in Algarve. I'm in Portugal, as you said, and you see a lot of companies, real estate companies, selling houses through tokens. So by allowing tokenized trying to find the right word. It's an 80s world, but well, I will get back to it afterwards. But it's something that allows for, well, again, someone that most probably does not have like the 1 million, 2 million euros to invest in that specific house by the beach, exactly, to be able to do that by purchasing like again 1/10, 1/100th of that house, and through a token to be connected and to be also an owner of that house. So again, that relates to more sophisticated ownership models that also need to be worked out inside the metaverse. So clearly, again, blockchain can add that value. On top of it, AI is an extremely big bag. You have like generative AI, you have conversational AI, you have, well, many classes of AI. If you ask me, I believe that the next wave of AI is going to be conversation AI. So we're talking about like having what you now know as chatbots being brought in, and AI generated characters and personal assistants will start to become more and more a part of our world. And again, they will be owned also by some of us, and they will also learn from us. So again, I do believe that there will be AI will be clearly also at different levels a huge part of the metaverse, and it will again be most probably also the enabler of a lot of services that will bring a lot of meaning to the infrastructure that is being set up. And then the way that it connects directly to everything sensorized, so the Internet of Things and vehicles and self-driven cars and VTOLs, all of that will continuously connect, and again, will create more and more an added volume of business possibilities, but also at the same time an added volume of challenges, because we're always talking about data, and what we haven't sorted out is exactly that. Who owns this data? Who controls this data?
I had this question extended, but I'm gonna just come right to the point. Do you think NFTs are dead? You're the third person I'm asking this today, by the way. So tell me, do you think NFTs are dead?
You know, NFT as a format, no, I don't think so. Again, I'm now going into what are people using NFTs for? So if you ask me, so until now, NFTs have been like recognized as a great way to like do social tokens, to have to promote collectibles and collections, and at the same time also to promote digital art. I think that if we learn something throughout these let's say 3 years, is that we need to separate what are like NFTs that mainly cater to an audience that is looking to like highlight its own lifestyle and to mainly communicate through the ownership of that NFT their identity and their beliefs, and again their lifestyle. And you have that, for instance, in the apes, for instance, or so many. And we have to separate those from other NFTs, a lot of collectibles out there that are mainly aimed at that are part of the culture, that are part of the history of digital art that are part of the history of how the technology has evolved and how digital communities have come into place. So given and looking specifically and uniquely about or towards what has happened in the last 3 years, I would say that if you ask me, are they dead? I would say exactly the opposite. I'm thinking that right now, more and more, and specifically looking at my end of the market, so in the industrial area, there are more and more and more use cases coming up and popping up with tokens, and it's really really interesting to see how big corporates and well, as you know, I work in a startup called KTR, and we do industrial augmented reality solutions. So it's not like our reality, but I see a lot of realities out there. Like for instance, today I saw this this news regarding Itachi that is doing a rollout with the metaverse open platform called Croquet. That, from what I understood, also included tokenization. So again, it's like in the last 2 months, maybe the third one that I hear. So again, this to say that it's not that for sure. What maybe is that is like the way that it was used, and even so, I wouldn't say that. It's just maybe transforming or evolving and dimming out to give way to yet another app or other application.
Let's talk about Kit AR. You're the chief marketing officer of the company, and it basically serves businesses in terms of manufacturing. Correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yeah.
So it's a hardcore, like it's a core industry, manufacturing. So as I said in the monologue, manufacturing to distribution. People want to know the numbers. People want to see what are the use cases, immersive environments, and digital ledger technologies has in this field. You're of course in charge of marketing, but how does it practically happen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So right now you have a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but there you have solid use cases on remote assistance and field service support using augmented reality. And at the same time, also you have digital twinning of full factories that are being done for, well, in so many, I think that the main automotive and the main aeronautics companies already are doing that. So clearly those are very straightforward, down to the point examples. We at KTR, we work in enhancing the worker. So we enhance or we augment the worker with our product in order for him to do less errors. And our main goal is for him to do no errors at all while doing his job. So we do that through augmented reality instructions, through artificial intelligence. We use an algorithm to confirm if he uses, to confirm if everything that he did was well done. And we do that through our software that is installed in a head-mounted display. Like for instance, Microsoft HoloLens. And afterwards, we gather all the information, all the data from the process itself. We generate the process and allow for the continuous improvement team to trace back errors where they happened and act upon them. So to give you some numbers, we were able, for instance, to reduce 20% of cycle times, which means that manufacturing processes that have been happening for years now, we were able to just bring in the technology and cut down 20% of it. Wow. With an ROI of 6 months. And at the same time, for instance, on the training side, we were able to accelerate the onboarding of new workers by 25%. Wow. So this has a lot of impact on companies that are
millions of dollars.
exactly, and we're talking about these are not companies that are like focused in innovation. They have like their very straightforward, conservative, because it's very well proven process. So it's really, really interesting to see that these technologies can really deliver value. And one cool thing about these markets, the automotive, the aeronautics, and others, is that most of the times we're working with engineers, and engineers just look and they only need to see if it works, and if it does, then great. They say, well, wonderful, then let's move forward, and we go step by step. So yeah, I do believe that at this time it's becoming much more visible. However, I think that the hype, it's always damaging in the long run, because again, for instance, like now we had like the new Apple glasses hype, right? And suddenly everyone was again looking, okay, so all the solutions out there, it's going to be yet another boom. And how many times have we heard that there was going to be a boom in VR, a boom in augmented reality, the Web3 boom, and everyone was going to have a wallet? Again, I think that's like toning down. We can tone down the hype because it's not like that easy. But I think that it's really important for us to learn, to educate ourselves, and to find ways to like cut through the hype, and to know exactly, okay, so how to go there, and what can I extract from this technology. And I think that today most professionals that are looking at these technologies seriously are also looking to tools that enable them to do that.
I think you proved the point when people say data is the new oil. And we all know that AI and machine learning are a result of expert application of data sciences. I mean, many of your public conferences, you've been speaking in these conferences quite a lot, and you've been talking about the integration of data science with metaverse. But Web3 is all about privacy and ownership, right? So data has helped Web2, as you mentioned about Facebook in the beginning, right? Web2 applications achieve that exact opposite of that, right? So could you share some light on whether we should be concerned about data being, leveraged with the advent of metaverse? What can be done to make sure that metaverse economy remains decentralized? Again, coming back to the question, right? And malicious attacks as well. People's seed phrases are being attacked. Cold wallets are not secure anymore. We have been getting news about that. So crazy. So tell me about the security aspect.
So well, several questions there. So regarding your first one, should we be worried? Quick answer: yes. We should be worried. We should be thinking about that. We should be clearly the point, and this is a massive point. We have been enabling the data is the new oil model since I don't know, maybe for 20 years now, for 2 decades now. And if you go to universities, let's not go below, let's go to universities, and you ask people, so what is happening to your data? No one can answer. No one can answer what is happening to their online data. They just know that it's there and they accept it. Now, this is really hard because if you come to think of it, it's not just a matter, and we already realize it's not just a matter of the data that we're inputting in forms, in data forms. Okay, so that I know that I've written my address, or that I've written my phone number, and I shared it with with Amazon, for instance. No, it's all it's the fact that I'm being tracked, that I'm being surveilled. That there's a surveillance going on 24/7 on my behaviors, my online behaviors. So talking about the metaverse, we're talking about bringing that outside of the screen, right? So this is right now already happening. Like, for instance, how many of us have been like thinking that we are giving our faces to Apple or to Samsung or to Google by just unblocking the phone with our faces? Not so many people. Even more, you have so many people like using those apps to de-age yourself or to see yourself with another gender, or and again, that's fun, but we don't think that that data is training an algorithm that possibly is going to be identifying people for a political regime which you probably are not that aligned with. And although it's really fun, and also it like brings you a laugh or two, the fact is that the effects are really, really, really visible in our lives. And not just our lives, ours, because of course we are becoming more and more a target of educated and continuously educated AIs that know us more than ourselves, and that can affect us, that can communicate us in a way that we most of the times are not able, we don't have the tools to respond or to do anything else rather than just comply or buy, because it makes absolute sense for us. Now, that's why it's so important to talk about data ownership. It's so important to talk about data control today. And talking about that, it's talking about, again, interoperability. It's talking about standards. It's talking about having the ability to for the users to have some level of control of the fuel of this economy, because we are the ones right now fueling this economy. We are the ones that are providing the oil for this economy, and we are the ones getting the trinkets. We are the ones just getting like the services, which are really fun and really nice and really interesting. But at the end of the day, it would be also really interesting for us to have, well, the ownership of something that is so valuable throughout the day. Now, more than that, the fact that someone else is becoming the owner, now that's even worse, right? Because suddenly someone else has the ownership of my messages, the ownership of what I'm doing. So again, all of that needs clearly to be sorted out. And I do believe that, again, Web3 has a lot to bring into the table because of the experience and the technologies that are right now in place, which I believe can provide several solutions to be discussed and afterwards to be tested and implemented. But one thing's for sure, we really need to make much more, to bring many more solutions into place regarding safety and regarding privacy, because at this point we don't have many, and it's all going to be much harder when we have more biometric data brought into the mix. And well, as said before, Meta is all about that.
Solutions for the companies to save resources. Again, you have been a part of the industry for a long time now. You've been the .com bubble, the Web 2 era, and now working in the Web 3 era. A lot of people are, again, as you mentioned, cost cuts. People are concerned about jobs, right? People are saying generative AI is the end of humankind. Terminator days are not far away. So much so, I mean, I think CEOs are talking about cage fights. I think this is Armageddon. This is the end of the times, where CEOs are going to find in the cage fight. But people losing jobs is real. People are getting laid off. Is it a concern? Is it a concern for the, general folks, middle management folks?
Um, yeah, well, yeah. Clearly, we are in a cornerstone of a paradigm shift. So at this time, people are looking at what's happening, and they are looking from the standpoint of the old economy, and they are saying, "Oh, but everything is doomed. Everything is really, really bad." The fact is that right now we are solving a lot of issues and automating a lot of topics, but then we have several others that need to be tended. Let's start with our last question, like safety, privacy. We need people and we need services that can provide the safety and privacy that we need, and the several levels of safety and privacy that we need and that we want to have. So just that clearly is open field for new jobs, for new companies, for new startups, new ventures to come into fruition. So if you ask me, like for instance, I cooperate or collaborate with XR Safety Intelligence. It's xrsi.org. It's an NGO, well, an organization that is aimed at promoting safety and privacy in immersive worlds. And clearly, we see more and more opportunities to cooperate with corporates, with again also startups, but mainly professionals that have like different views and different needs, specific needs that could relate directly to their vertical markets, which come into light once they enter immersive worlds. So clearly, we have topics. Again, the safety and privacy topics are going to drive a lot of new jobs. But more than that, there's actually this bigger area of expertise that usually people don't talk about, and that kind of makes me it kind of confounds me, because it's you hear a lot of people talking about, oh, we need a human-centered metaverse, we need to have a human-centered. Okay, so where are the human sciences guys here? So I don't recall seeing anthropologists, or so many anthropologists, or so many sociologists, or so many philosophers being brought in to discussing the metaverse or to discussing Web3. Why is that? Well, I don't know. I can guess, but the topic has to do with this. There are a lot of profiles, a lot of new roles that need to be filled, and a lot of needs that need to be worked on by these professionals, which are the ones that have like the methods and the techniques to allow us to address the challenges that we have right now. So again, human sciences clearly are going to see, if you ask me, are going to see a huge rise with what's happening with AI. Then finally, I think that we are right now entering, and we're already seeing that, but I do believe that it's going to like become a more transversal phenomenon. We're moving from a creator economy to a curator economy. We're moving into a place where professionals will be supported by AI tools to perform so many different tasks, but at the end, they will be the ones like writing off what's going to be published, what's going to be sent to someone, what's going to be, and tweaking the messages, tweaking the deliverables in the way that they seem fit, so that they can deliver in a much more efficient, quicker, and still personalized way. So yeah, I do believe that it's a big change, and I'm seeing the Luddites out there, people saying that we need to smash the machines. At the same time, I think that crossing that threshold of the paradigm shift, we will see that it's going to be a bit different. And again, that the jobs are there, and more than the jobs, the new models for us to accelerate as society are also there. So this to say that I'm very, very positive with the metaverse. Of course, take that with a grain of salt, but at the same time, also believe that we have challenges.
Now let's talk about your book, Metaverse. Is it gonna be, is there gonna be a Metaverse 2.0 coming soon? Where can people find the book?
You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Barnes and Noble, and most probably you can also find it in your bookstores, local bookstores from Hungary to South Korea. It's over there. It's published by Wiley, it's very much focused in as I shared, providing a no nonsense approach to what the metaverse is. We only have one chapter dedicated to technology. Everything else is dedicated to the stakeholders, dedicated to the user roles, to the interactions, to the UX transformations that we've seen throughout the years, to highlight that everything that is happening right now is not happening from just appearing out of nowhere. It's like something that has been continuously happening throughout the time. What we're seeing right now is a converging movement of technologies, where several technologies are more and more like converging right now here, most probably in the future, in head-mounted displays, smart glasses, and augmented reality glasses. So I do believe that we will at a point be in a moment where we will look around and be able to filter out all the digital parts that we want and keep the ones that we desire. And in that moment, most probably we will be already living within the metaverse. We right now are on our pathway towards it. So we have the possibility to do something that we didn't have the opportunity to when we had Web 2.0, which is to build it and to discuss it and to build it well. So that's why it's so important to enable people to be able to discuss and to bring in their thoughts, bring in what they want to really do, how they want to enable themselves through these technologies, and to share also their worries, their views, and to allow them space to add to this vision of what the metaverse can be. So the book is all about that, and at the end, the whole purpose is for people to, after reading the book, being able to participate. And actually, the last two chapters are just like links and avenues for people to pursue, and techniques for people to apply in order for them to stay connected and to be like separate what's the hype, or separate the hype from what's really important within the metaverse space.
I see the Matrix analogy there. Your cover has a red side and a blue side. So I'm going to give you the red pill and the blue pill here. The red pill, you stay in this podcast, which is a Matrix forever. The blue pill, you wake up and live your life with Kate AR. What are you going to choose?
I don't know. I'm probably going to be off, but not before saying thank you very much for this great long. Sorry for stretching it, but really, really cool discussion. I do believe that there are a lot of new things coming that are most probably going to complicate even more the equations that we have been sketching and discussing here. But at the end, I believe that if people keep connected, and mainly if people keep more conscious and develop tools to become more conscious of what's happening to them through these technologies, I believe that in that sense they will start having a positive relationship with the transformations that are having, and go beyond being just bystanders.
We're just about to touch the hour mark. It's kind of like the Matrix. So ladies and gentlemen, let us end the podcast here. On a good note, though, read the book Metaverse, available on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and everywhere else. Search it, read it, get in touch with Mr. Martins on LinkedIn or wherever you want to get it. He's a great guy to talk to. So look out for him on conferences as well, because he does have great opinions pieces to talk about. So until then, I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you very much for being here.